Today I'm going to talk about sucking vacuum from Alien, the publisher Alien Menace. It's the Ultimate Edition. It was called because it has the basic rules, but also it has the Alien Incursion expansion to it as well included in the box. The copyright on the rules is 2009. In other references it says, like in Board Game Geek, I think they say like 2006, but I'll go with the copyright, which is 2009. So the art is okay. The box, as you can see, it's a bit flimsy. It'd be nice if there was a more rugged box. Maybe instead of a box you open that way, it's a box with a cover that came off would be nice. But things are a little bit tight in there. It's a little bit tight to fit everything. And as you see, it has a little bit of wear. But overall, the cover art is okay. It's got a good description on the back. The 6-man international crew has just dimmed the lights, bid each other a multilingual goodnight, and settled back to the dream of gravity, when suddenly the unthinkable happens. Sirens blare, airlock slams shut, emergency lights flash. The crew quickly realizes something has gone horribly wrong. The whole station is losing oxygen, and it won't be long before they're all just salvage. Space station disaster equipment is strewn about after years of neglect. Nobody knows where anything is. Nobody knows what to do. And then it dawns on them, there's only one escape pod, but 6 crew members. It doesn't take an astrophysicist with a PhD to figure out that only 2 of them are going home, and the rest are going to end up sucking vacuum. It's an easy-to-learn, fast-action strategy game for 36 players. Players assume the role of one of the unfortunate astronauts searching for equipment and struggling to escape the doomed space station, making their way through a randomly assembled map of the International Space Station. Players must fight off the attacks of other astronauts who are trying to escape themselves. So the content, a couple rules sets. Like I said, it has the expansion with it as well. So there's the basic rules. It's 4 pages, black and white. The Alien Incursion expansion, also, 4 pages, black and white. And then optional rules and questions answered, tournament rules. Credits, game design, Mark Davis, for both the basic rules and expansion. Art and graphic design, Alvin Helms, for both the basic and expansion. Additional contributions, Ed Evans. Tournament rules, Michael Zlino. Comes with a couple little 6-sided dice. And then the crew are on this board on these stands. The board is a little bit flimsy and it fits a little bit loosely in the stand, so it's not perfect, but it'll get the job done. And then there's a 6 different, multinational crew, including a space chimpanzee, I guess. 3 aliens. These are from the Alien Incursion module, and then a robot as well. And there are 6 different oxygen monitors, 1 for each of the crew, basically showing lungs, start at 10, all the way down to sucking vacuum, and for some reason you use these spaceship markers for moving those down. Not sure why they're spaceships, but they work okay. There's various counters that'll be used in play. They're thinnish cardboard. On the back they're all white. And I say that so the base game counters are faint blue and the Alien Incursion are faint green. It's not obvious to me that any of these are faint anything, so I'm not sure what that means, but I'm going to do the aliens anyway, which will use most of the counters. So sucking vacuum counters. These are the elements of the spacesuit. Leggings, torso, and helmet. Alien influence counters. Annabelle the robot, autopilot, jetpack. Some of these are accessories. There's a Reserve O2, mind control. Escape Pod Fuel Program, Experimental Critters, ISS, MPV, Bug Bomb, and then some different items. Here's the tiles that'll make up the map. They're each 5 inches by 5 inches. On the backside, they just are, say sucking vacuum. And so there's, in the basic game, you have a damage escape pod. And then you have, various different rooms where you can see where you enter and leave the rooms through these different hatches. Quite a variety of different layouts for the different rooms. Then you have different, hallways, again with hatches. For the alien incursion, you take out the damage escape pod and you put in a undamaged one, and then also you have the saucer tile here. First, going through the basic rules here. Overview of play. The object of sucking vacuum is to be one of the 2 players who are not sucking vacuum in the doomed International Space Station at the end of the game. To do this, the player must collect all 3 parts to a spacesuit, fuel the escape pod, and make his way to the pod to escape. He can collect special objects to help him on his way, and find makeshift weapons used to be his former coworkers, while allowing him to steal their stuff. There are just 2 seats in the escape pod, and not enough spacesuits to go around, so somebody is going to end up sucking vacuum. And then to make it fun, they want you to choose accents, but I think I'll spare you that, not do that. Then if ever you want to take a set of lungs, place a rocket token on the 10 representing the amount of air left. In 3-player game, for a 3-player game, remove 1 complete spacesuit from the counters pile before distributing the counters. Also remove any 1 map tile, except a hallway or escape pod from the play. Building station, there are only a couple rules covering the construction of your space station. The map tiles and hallways may join each other only by connecting 2 airlocks. Map tiles may never overlap one another. The escape pod must be connected to the rest of the structure by hallway. To build a map, players take turns adding map tiles to the space station until all the map tiles are attached to the station. Now that the station is built, find the escape pod and put one of the sucking vacuum counters on it. Place the second sucking vacuum counter in the hallway, which attaches the escape pod to the rest of the space station. And this sucking vacuum part is setup is done differently in the incursion, but I'll talk about the basic rules here. Have each player take 1 sucking vacuum counter and place it on the map. Each room or hallway which has a sucking vacuum counter placed into it must be attached to another room or hallway which is already exposed to vacuum. The first one is easy. It will be whatever tile is attached to the end of the escape pod hallway. Now take all the object counters, shuffle them, and place 3 face down next to each room, not the hallways. Take the remaining 3 and set them aside without looking at them. Finally, each player needs to select a starting location by placing their astronaut into any empty space in any room which is not already sucking vacuum. Taking a turn, the player who owns the game gets to go first. Ending a turn, the player's turn always ends when he takes a breath, runs out of air, searches a room for equipment. Vacuum and oxygen management. At the start of the game, all players are located in rooms which have not yet been exposed to vacuum. They can breathe normally and need not stop at the big blue oxygen cylinders to get air. Players needn't worry about expending oxygen, other lungs to do things like move or reveal object counters. However, when a player moves from a room which is non-vacuum into one which has been exposed, which has a sucking vacuum counter in it, the room he just left is exposed to vacuum, so he places a sucking vacuum counter into it. When a player is moving through rooms or hallways exposed to vacuum, you'll find that once he's in vacuum, he can't get back out. He must pay oxygen costs for everything that he does according to the following table, shown here. So action, movement in space, 102, attack another player, 1, steal 1 object from a suffocating player, 1, defend against an attack, 1, do absolutely nothing, 1, take 1 object from a suffocating player, 1, reveal counters and take 1, 2, O2 cost. Getting around, players moving through the space station may move up to 7 spaces in a turn. They They may never move diagonally or through any objects in the rooms, but they may move through other players, but they may not end their turn on the same space as another player. Sole exception to this rule is the escape pod. There are no spaces in the escape pod room, only any number of players may simultaneously occupy it, and it is considered one space for movement purposes. Movement is free when moving in areas which have not yet been exposed to the vacuum, although still limited to 7 spaces per turn, and costs 1 O2 per space when moving through exposed areas. Getting oxygen. Oxygen may be replenished by moving next to any air tank. Replenishing oxygen ends your turn, and the rocket token on your lungs is returned to 10. Sucking vacuum. When a player runs out of air, he is considered to be sucking vacuum. A player who is sucking vacuum is simply struggling to get to an air tank and can take no action except to move 2 spaces per turn. The suffocating character is completely vulnerable to others who may approach the struggling player and take items from them at a cost of 1 O2 to themselves. Strategic negotiation combat. The best negotiating strategy is to beat on other players until they're gasping for air, and then take their stuff. Attacking another player costs 1 O2. When an attacking player announces attack, but before the rolls the attack die, the defending player may choose to defend herself at a cost of 1 O2. If the defending player chooses not to defend, the attacker rolls a single die. On 1 to 4, the attack is successful, and the defending player loses O2 from his lungs, equal to the number of the attacker's weapon. If the defending player chooses to defend, both the attacker and defender roll a single die. Both succeed on a roll of 1 to 3, and if successful, do damage to one another, knocking O2 out of each other's lungs, equal to the number of their respective weapons. If the attacker succeeds and the defender not, the defending player loses O2 from his lungs, equal to the number of the attacker's weapon. If the defender succeeds and the attacker does not, the attacking player loses O2 from his lungs, equal to the number of the defending player's weapon. If both the attacker and defender fail their rolls, neither loses air except for a single point that it took to attack and defend in the first place. Players without weapons may resort to using their fists, inflicting minus 2 O2 when successfully attacking or defending. Fighting stuff. From any space in a room, a player may elect to search for equipment. Equipment includes spacesuit parts, weapons, special equipment, and 2 counters which may be used to fuel the pod, making it ready for departure. When a player elects to search a room, he picks up all of the object counters associated with that room and looks at them. He may then take one and add it to his inventory by placing it in front of him. Players should not share the contents of a room with other players. Unused counters are returned face down. All objects are placed face up, except for special equipment, which may be played face down to hide it from other players until it is used. Objects now removed from a room are returned face down. Searching a room for equipment ends the player's turn, regardless of whether or not he elects to take an object. The objects. Players may carry only one each of the 3 spacesuit components, 1 weapon, and 1 piece of special equipment. Players may not carry extras, but they may elect to drop any part at any time during the turn. The drop part is placed face up next to the room or hallway that is dropped in. It may be picked up by another player who searches the room during their turn. Spacesuit parts. Every spacesuit comes in 3 parts: helmet, body type, and legs. To escape from the space station, a player must collect all 3 parts before dressing the escape pod. Weapons. A player may carry only 1 weapon to aid him in knocking the wind out of his comrades. Each weapon has a minus O2 number printed on it. This is the amount of air knocked out of opponent's lungs upon a successful attack or defense. Sucking vacuum. When revealed, rooms with the sucking vacuum counter in them are immediately exposed to vacuum. When a player finds this counter, it must be revealed. However, this does not cost the revealing player his action, so he may still take one of the remaining 2 objects. Annabelle. Annabelle is the space station's helper robot. A player who chooses to use the Annabelle counter reveals it immediately. It may not be added to inventory, and adds the Annabelle token to the map board anywhere in the same room. Annabelle may then be commanded to do one of the following: Open an airlock. She moves to an airlock and opens the door, exposing a room to vacuum. Search her room. She moves to a specified room and radios the commanding player with the contents of the room. Attack another player. Annabelle runs up and slaps another player for 402. Annabelle always hits and her attacks can't be defended. Moves to a specific location. Annabelle moves to a specified location and stands there. Annabelle moves 7 spaces per turn at the beginning of the commanding player's turn and may not be interrupted until she fulfills her orders. Having completed her command, Annabelle may be commanded by any player who enters the room that she is in at the cost of 102. Finally, Annabelle occupies a space just as players do, so if she's in it, a player can't be. Special equipment. Taking special equipment from a room ends player's turn, but using it does not. All special equipment may be used only once. The use of the 5 types of special equipment is described below. Jetpack allows a player to exit the space station at any airlock not connected to another room or hallway, and re-enter the space station at any airlock not connected to a room or hallway. They may also re-enter through the hull breach of the escape pod room. Using jetpack costs no air except for the single space of movement and does not require a completed spacesuit for use. Automatic pilot allows a player to escape the ship without a co-pilot. Automatic pilot faithfully fills that role. Fuel pod, there are 2 fuel pod counters, one of which must be played before the escape pod can successfully depart. One player must carry this object to one of the computer consoles scattered throughout the station and use it to fuel the pod. Once fueled, the fuel pod counter on the escape pod. Place the fuel pod counter on the escape pod to indicate that it's ready to go. Air reserve adds 502 to a player's lungs. A player may never have more than 10 O2 in their lungs, though, so using it with more than 5 remaining is a waste. They can never have more than 10. ISS MPV, the International Space Station Multi-Purpose Vehicle. ISS MPV allows a player to move a little bit further and twice as fast as normal for a single turn. That means that instead of moving 1 space for each O2, you can move 2, and the maximum number of spaces that you can move is 10. There's just one catch. There isn't enough room in hallways for both the ISS MPV and another player, so you can't move through another player in a hallway. In rooms, there's no restriction. Winning the game. In order to escape from the space station, the escape pod must be prepared for departure by using the fuel pod counter at a computer prior to launch. If the fuel pod counter has yet to be played, the escape pod cannot be launched. Players wishing to escape must also have a complete spacesuit, helmet, body, legs. Players who do not have a full suit may enter the escape pod room, but they may not escape the space station. Finally, the pod is designed for pilot and co-pilot, so 2 players must escape together. The only way for a single player to escape is for one player to have the automatic pilot with him. When all these criteria are met, a player may, on his turn, announce he is escaping, including who he is taking with him, if anyone. If more than 2 other players with full suits are in the escape pod room. So again, to the rules of Alien Incursion Expansion. So Sucking Vacuum Alien Incursion is a separate game based on the original Sucking Vacuum rules. Alien Incursion is a horribly unbalanced game, weighed heavily in favor of the invading alien force. The question isn't so much will the astronauts escape as will any of the astronauts escape. Overview of play. Alien Incursion plays much like the original Sucking Vacuum, but with some key differences. First, instead of the astronauts evacuating the space station because it's decompressing from a meteor strike, they're evacuating with alien invaders hot on their heels. The object of the game, if you're one of the human players, is to gather a complete spacesuit and escape in the escape pod with as many of your companions as possible. The object of the game, if you're the aliens, is to capture human subjects and return them to the alien ship. Alien Incursion pits 3 invading aliens against 6 scientists aboard the space station. The aliens, however, have a few key advantages. They are unaffected by any of the astronauts' makeshift weapons. The aliens communicate telepathically, completely hiding their plans from the astronauts. The aliens have the ability to control the minds of the astronauts. The aliens can survive vacuum indefinitely, giving them a distinct advantage over the astronauts as the station decompresses. The aliens brought some nasty stun prods with them. Setup. Alien Incursion may be played by any number of players from 2 to 9. One player controls all 3 invading aliens, while the other players play one or more of the escaping astronauts. One player must control all 3 aliens. They're telepathic. In Alien Incursion, you'll need all the original basic game counters. I'm not sure why it says 2 to 9 players, because if there's 6 astronauts and 1 for the aliens, that'd be 7. In Alien Incursion, you'll need all the original basic game counters, plus the Alien Incursion counters. Remove the Alien Influence, Mind Control, and Stun Prod counters. And set up the second vacuum logo counters aside, and then shuffle the rest together. You should have a big pile of 49 counters. Remove the damaged escape pod, and add the undamaged escape pod and alien saucer map tiles to your tile set. Shuffle them all and place them face down in a stack. Each player in turn reveals a map tile and builds it into the map, following placement rules from the Sucking Vacuum basic game. The only exception is that when the alien spacecraft tile comes up, the alien player gets to place it no matter what turn it is. Unlike the basic game, no tiles begin exposed to vacuum. The aliens will probably take care of that in short order by exposing as many rooms to vacuum as they can. Place 4 objects face down next to each of the small rooms, including the escape pod. Place 7 objects face down in each of the 3 large rooms. Finally, give each alien 1 stun prod, 1 mind control counter, and 2 alien influence counters. Getting started. Once everything is ready to go, have everyone except the alien player choose a different accent. Again, I won't be doing that. Next, have each astronaut take a set of lungs and place a rug token on the 10, representing the amount of air left between them and being captured and carried away for diabolical experimentation by the aliens. The player who is controlling aliens starts in any spaces in the alien spacecraft map tile and gets to go first. Play proceeds clockwise after that. Changes from the basic game. Most elements of the basic game are retained for the Alien Incursion, but there are some key changes. Astronauts may wear 3 suit parts, helmet, torso, and legs, and may carry up to 2 weapons, special equipment, or suit parts face down. The moving outside optional rule is allowed in Alien Incursion. It is covered in more detail later in these rules. The cargo bay optional rule is allowed in Alien Incursion. Both astronauts and aliens may open the cargo bay door and expose the cargo bay to vacuum. Fists are ineffective against the aliens and may not be used to defend against alien attacks. Astronaut's turn. Play for the astronaut players works exactly as it does in the basic game with the following changes. Astronauts will have no need to attack each other. Astronauts with a completed spacesuit may move outside the space station. Astronauts may toss objects to one another. When not in vacuum, astronauts may move 7 spaces per turn. They may never move diagonally or through any objects in the rooms, but they may move through other players, but they may not end their turn in the same space as another player. As in the basic game, the exception to this rule is the escape pod. There are no spaces in the escape pod room. Any number of players may simultaneously occupy it, and is considered one space for movement purposes. Remember that when operating in vacuum, astronauts must pay for all their actions as in the basic game. Astronaut player's turn always ends when he takes a breath, runs out of air, or searches a room for equipment. Alien's turn. Play for the aliens is completely different in that than it is for the astronauts. Aliens are allowed 10 actions per turn with the following costs for their actions. Action, drop object, 0 cost. Move 1 space or open airlock, 1 cost each. Search room and take 1 object, 2 cost. Move outside the space station, 3. Attack an astronaut, 3. Read astronaut's mind, 3. Use mind control power, 5. Use alien influence power, 5. And aliens players' turns end when they are out of actions. They do not use all their actions in a turn. Some notes about the aliens. Aliens may carry suffocating astronauts. An astronaut carried back to the alien ship is lost forever. Aliens may utilize the astronauts' weapons, but none of the astronauts' equipment, though they may carry it around. Aliens may not occupy the same space as an astronaut or another alien. Aliens may carry one object in each hand only. Dropping objects is free. An astronaut counts as one object. Airlocks in the vacuum. At the start of the game, all human players are located in rooms which have not yet been exposed to the vacuum. They can breathe normally and need not stop at the big blue oxygen O2 cylinders get air. Players needn't worry about expending O2 out of their lungs to do things like move or reveal object counters. However, when a human player moves from a room which is not in vacuum into a room which has been exposed, i.e. a sucking vacuum counter in it, the room he just left is exposed to vacuum, so he places a sucking vacuum counter into it. Moving outside the station, a player with a full spacesuit, all three parts, and all of the aliens may move outside the space station according to the following rules. Moving outside ends the player's turn. Once outside, a player may move from map tile to map tile, one tile per turn, at a cost of 302 for each tile traversed, but players may not jump over empty spaces between map tiles. They must always move tile to tile. Aliens may move through as many map tiles as they have actions. A player runs out of oxygen while outside, helplessly floats away and is removed from play. Tossing object. At the cost of 102, a player may toss any held object to another player who is in the same room or hallway. Aliens may not toss objects. Objects may not be passed through airlock doors or from room to room, but they may be passed between two players occupying the same map tile when outside the space station. Alien attacks. Aliens may attack the astronauts to render them suffocating, allowing the aliens to carry them away. Astronauts may not attack the aliens unless they somehow manage to get an alien stun prod. An alien hit with a stun prod is instantly killed and removed from play. An alien must be next to an astronaut, no diagonal, to initiate attack. The alien player announces the attack, and the defending astronaut chooses whether or not he will defend. If the defending player chooses not to defend, the attacker rolls a single die. On a 1 to 4, the attack is successful, and the defending player loses O2 from his lungs equal to the number on the attacker's weapon. If the defending player chooses to defend, both the attacker and defender roll a single die. Both succeed on a roll of 1 to 3. If both the attacker and defender make their rolls, the O2 rating of the defender's weapon is subtracted from the amount of damage done by the attacker's weapon. If the attacker succeeds and the defender does not, the defending player loses O2 from lungs equal to the number on the attacker's weapon. If the defender succeeds and the attacker does not, nothing happens. If both the attacker and defender fail their rolls, neither loses air except for the single point of attack and the single point that it took to attack or defend in the first place. Alien mind control. Once per game, each alien may reach out and control the mind of one of the astronauts. The alien player simply makes this announcement on his turn and places the mind control token on the controlled astronaut. When the astronaut's turn comes around, the controlling alien simply takes a turn for him. Alien influence. Twice per game, each alien may reach out and influence the behavior of one of the astronauts. Alien influence may be used to immediately cause an astronaut to move one space, drop an object, or attack another astronaut who is adjacent to him. Once used, the alien influence token is discarded. Alien mind reading. The aliens may read the astronaut's mind at will at a cost of 3 actions, anytime during their turn. When an astronaut's mind is read, any face-down objects he is carrying are revealed to the alien player, then replaced face down. To see them again, the alien player will have to read the astronaut's mind again. Additional special equipment. Despite the overwhelming odds, the astronauts do have a couple of tricks up their sleeves. Both the bug bomb and experimental critters may be used by the astronauts to turn the tide against the alien invaders, and the air reserve is a little bit more effective. Bug bomb. The bug bomb may be used in 2 ways. The bug bomb may be placed in a room and activated or it blocks the passage of an alien through that room or hallway for one full turn. It is removed at the end of the activating player's next turn. Aliens caught in a room after the bug bomb is detonated must move out of the room on their next turn. It may be used to defend against an alien attack instead of using a weapon. If the astronaut successfully defends, the astronaut takes no damage, and the alien loses his next turn. Place the bug bomb token under him and drops his stun prod. Experimental critters. Emptying the cage full of experimental critters into a room allows movement through that room for both astronauts and aliens. Players entering a room with experimental critters counter played into it must immediately drop their movement and end the turn. The experimental critters remain in play for the entire game once used. Air reserve. In alien incursion, the air reserve replenishes all the astronauts' oxygen instead of just 502. Annabelle. Annabelle plays a special role in the alien incursion. She works just like she does in the basic game, but she can be ordered to do the following. Open an airlock. She moves to an airlock and opens the door, exposing a room to vacuum. Search a room. She moves to the specified room and radios the commanding player with the contents of the room. Attack alien. Annabelle will chase the target alien until she catches it and attack. The player who ordered Annabelle controls her on his turn. When she catches the alien, she attacks it once, causing it to lose its next turn and drop the stun prod. Annabelle always hits, no die rolls required, and the aliens can't defend against her. Move to a specific location. Annabelle moves to the specified location and stands there. Annabelle moves 7 spaces per turn at the beginning of the commanding player's turn and may not be interrupted until she fulfills her orders. Having completed her command, Annabelle may be commanded by any player who enters the room that she is in at the cost of 102. The alien player may not command Annabelle. Winning the game, astronauts must fuel the escape pod, just like the base game, and then get to it and escape. If an alien is in the escape pod, when the astronauts announce their escape, he's left in the station. Unlike the basic game, suffocating astronauts can escape with the rest of the crew. The alien's goal should be preventing all 6 astronauts from escaping. They certainly have the tools that are supposed to do just that. The astronauts should be struggling to get all their comrades out. Then there's the optional rules. Airlock blowback. When opening an airlock which is exposed to vacuum on one side or the other, any player in either room or hallway is blown back or pulled towards the airlock 3 spaces according to the regular movement rules. The player opening the airlock is sucked into the room being exposed to vacuum. Under no circumstances will the opening of an airlock affect more than 2 rooms. A player standing just outside a room will never be moved no matter how near they are to the opened airlock. Cargo bay. A character entering the cargo bay may open the cargo bay door, exposing the room to vacuum if it wasn't already, and use it as another point of ingress or egress from the station. Sucking vacuum hardcore. Hardcore rules variant calls for players sucked out of the station without a completed spacesuit will be eliminated from the game. And then there's it discusses tournament rules, which I won't go into detail, but for the tournament introduction, typically these rules have been used at conventions, allowing more player to play, creating a really crazy environment. The tournament edition requires 12 players, 2 copies of Sucking Vacuum, and about 2 hours to play. So set up then. Doing the Alien Incursion expansion. So I'm going to be doing 3 players, and then of course there's the 3 aliens. 3 players, each has a lung card with a marker on it. So you use the basic game counters plus the Alien Incursion. And you take out the alien influence, the mind control, and the stun prod counters. Set them aside. And then the sucking vacuum ones, you have your 2. And then you just shuffle and just have the rest of them kind of randomly in a unknown pile here. Take out the damaged escape pod here and replace it with in the pile here with the alien saucer and the undamaged escape pod. Then you gotta get them all mixed up here. Since I'm doing a 3-player game, you take out one complete spacesuit, 3 parts here. Then you take out one tile, except a hallway or escape pod. So I'll take this one out, move it from play. So go ahead and setting up the map. See if all the basic rules. You basically have to have airlocks connected, can't overlap, the escape pod must be connected to the rest of the structure by a hallway. And then in the alien incursion, when you get the saucer, the alien player gets to put it down. You take turns, and obviously I'm all players, so. Set this one up here. Got the saucer, so the alien's going to be putting that down. He'll have that coming right in here. Just got a couple more to place here. Hallway, set up here. The escape shuttle, so it's got to be connected to the rest by a hallway, so I'll put that over here. Hallway. Another hallway. That go up here. Then a small room. It fits nicely right there. So that's the space station. So again, I'm doing a 3-player game, so I took out one of the spacesuits and also one of the map tiles from the full set. So first of all, you put 4 counters next to the small rooms. Let's indicate them here. It's all the small rooms, and then you put 7 of the counters in the big rooms. I got my aliens here, each with a mind control, the alien influence mark counters, and stun prods. And here's my players over here. Again, I'm going 3 players, each with their lungs starting at 10. I'm starting to play here. So the aliens, they start at any of these spaces in the alien spacecraft module here, where attached to the space station. They'll start over here, and then none of the rooms are exposed to vacuum, so these characters can start in any room. This one I'll start, and it looks like kind of an office setting. This looks like a medical bay, and this is some kind of like engineering office here, so I'll start there. So the aliens get to go first. So they're allowed 10 actions, according to the cost and the rules. So since there's no airlocks open for vacuum, this alien will open it up to vacuum, so this will indicate that. And then, so that costs one. Then he'll move, it costs 1 for each movement too, so then 2, 3, 4. Open airlock is another 1, so 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's where it is. So he'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And since they've opened the airlock here, there'll also be, have been exposed to vacuum as well, indicated here. So the astronauts, they don't have to expend air because they're not in rooms with vacuum yet. So this one will take, he'll take one of these objects. So he's got a wrench, escape pod fuel program, another weapon. He'll take the wrench. And then he'll try to consolidate a little bit. He's going to move into this room. Let's stay there. This one will look at the 4 objects and take one. Got a mouse trapped to 302. Annabelle. Then a couple spacesuit pieces. He's gonna get Annabelle. So we'll put Annabelle in that room. Put her up here in case the aliens start coming in that way. And he'll just end his movement and stay in that room. Then this character, similarly, will look at the 4 objects. The jetpack, experimental critters, spacesuit part, and a teddy bear can do 302 damage. They'll grab the jetpack, and they're just gonna stay in that room for now and see what the aliens do. So aliens' turn. Go 1, open airlock, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and search the room and take 1 object. He'll take an escape pod fuel program to kind of mess the astronauts up. He'll open this airlock. So now, since he had opened this one up, this one's exposed to vacuum. And this one's also exposed to vacuum. But unfortunately, he sees Annabelle there, which Annabelle will attack him when it's her turn. This one will open an airlock. 1. Check for items. He'll grab the worst weapon here. Supposed to vacuum now. And he'll start moving. He'll just stop right there. This one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8, that's exposed to vacuum. I'll check the contents. Spacesuit parts and a jetpack. He'll take a spacesuit part to kind of mess up the astronauts. An astronaut's turn. They can't attack the alien, and they're in a room now that's sucking vacuum, so they have to use their energy. One will have Annabelle attack. So he's gonna, before Annabelle attack, he's gonna search the room for items. He's gonna grab a spacesuit torso. So now that it's vacuum, he has to take energy to do that, or take oxygen to do that. That costs 2. There's a torso there. There's 2 there. Then he's got to move a space. Five, 6. Then he's at the O2 there, so we can replenish. It's the end of his turn. This one's going to command Annabelle to attack, and Annabelle automatically wins against the alien, and the alien will drop his stun prod because of that. And he's similarly going to search the room for an object. He'll grab a spacesuit torso also, which knock down a couple for that. He'll exit the room here, and then he'll also go on the oxygen to replenish. She's gonna search the room here. Grab a spacesuit part. So it costs a couple. Well, actually, she isn't in vacuum yet, so it doesn't cost her anything. And then she'll move up 7, so stay there. It's still not in vacuum yet. Alien's turn. Open the hatch. Exposing it to vacuum. One more spot here. And then he's going to combat the astronaut. And the astronaut can choose to defend or not. So the alien has the stun prod, which is 7. The astronaut would like to defend, but they don't. They can only attack an alien with a stun prod, and they haven't picked one up yet. There's one laying on the ground over here, but they haven't picked it up yet. So they'll elect not to defend since they can't. So the attacker rolls a die. 3. So on a 1 to 4, the successful, and the player loses O2 equal to the number of the attacker's weapon, and it's 7. So they lose another 7, so they're down to 2 now. And the alien's also going to search the room for objects. He'll grab another spacesuit part to kind of mess him up. So he's going to do mind control on this astronaut. You can do that once per game, so just indicate that here. And then when it gets to be that player's turn, this alien can tell him where to go. That costs him 5, and he has 5 left. So I'll move up here. It's his turn. And this alien was hit by Annabelle last turn, so he loses his turn. And he also dropped his stun prod. So that's a little bit about how to play Sucking Vacuum from Alien Menace. It's copyrighted 2004 and 2009. I have the Ultimate version that has also the Alien Incursion expansion, which I showed. You know, I obviously did it myself, but imagine when you have quite a few people doing it, it gets quite entertaining. I enjoyed it just playing it solo, though, too. It's pretty easy to do solo. You just kind of take turns, and the aliens are psychic anyway, so you can control all 3 aliens and then just kind of do the players individually. But I'm sure when you kind of do several players, you get a lot of diplomacy going between each other. But you get different weapons you can choose. You have a strategy of trying to get. Gotta get your spacesuit and get off on the shuttle. As I say, it's a bit OP in favor of the aliens, and that's for the incursion. That's undesigned so to make it a challenge. Kind of neat robot you can control. I like that you can make the different maps of different space stations. Layouts. Got different powers for the aliens. Got different weapons you can pick up. A lot going for it. The components are nice. I mean, I wish the box was a little bit more rugged. I think that added a lot to it. It's like a more of a rugged, maybe like how they do, the boxed version of Task Force games. Would be nice if they did something like that. And the characters are cutouts. Of course, you could always use miniatures for that, but works fine. And for what it does, very much enjoyed it. Recommend it. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. Sucking Vacuum. Thanks a lot.